Yes, hello everybody. Welcome to the live stream this Sunday, like kind of, I don't know, morning, afternoon. We're going to talk about some four different tips to help you lose some weight. We're going to go over my normal strategy, my calorie formula, how I like people eat enough protein, eat enough fiber. Then we'll talk about active lifestyle, some like daily things you can do workout wise, such as walking and some different type of exercises, just to help you lose weight like the real healthy way. I appreciate everybody showing up. Let me pull up the comments. I think let me lower my phone. I have my phone on to check the comments. And also let me know if anything's not being broadcast properly. Let me know. Actually, I just got back from Connecticut. My son had a track meet yesterday. It was so much fun seeing him and all his friends. You know, both my kids are graduating college this year. I cannot believe it. It went by so incredibly fast. Hey, thanks for showing up. I really appreciate it. Hey, good morning, Chris. Great to see you too. Thanks for showing up too as well. I think it's an hour earlier for you, right? I think in Texas, I'm pretty sure. Okay. You know, I have to say, I hope this isn't too much of a repeat for the people who show up every single Sunday. But I have a lot of new people have been, coming along my way from Instagram and from TikTok. So if anything gets repetitive, let me know. Ask as many questions as you want about your own personal situation, just to make this live stream really relevant for you. But we're going to go over in this live stream all the basic stuff that I love talking about. I think Jeff is here too. Always cuts off the beginning. Good morning, Mike. It doesn't mean I start. You see me talking, but there's no sound. But now everything is good. Yeah, 11:10 a.m. in Texas. Great. So I'm assuming everything's good now, Jeff, right? All the sound, everything is good. If it isn't, let me know, and I'll have to restart the whole thing. Okay, so I'm going to talk about, my basic things, how to lose weight the healthy way. It's kind of interesting because I started working with a few new people online. Hey, Patel, thanks for showing up. UK, right? That's great. Thanks for showing up. I seem like I'm leaning a little bit more away from the time-restricted eating and intermittent fasting when it comes to working with people. Because I'm almost through now Peter Attia's new book, and I really listen to the nutrition section maybe 3 or 4 times. I like to listen to audio books. Like obviously you guys know I'm going to be walking today after this live stream. And he's leaning away from the time-restricted eating. It's funny because I feel like we're talking about the same things. I've been focusing more with people on like these 3 basic things. I still love time-restricted eating, and we're going to be talking about it in this live stream as well. But I've been really focusing mostly on calories, protein, fiber, and then obviously working out and exercising and living an active lifestyle. So and I really think those are the 3 things most people will do incredibly well focusing on when it comes to losing weight or like reaching an optimal weight and just staying there, along with the time-restricted eating and the intermittent fasting. I think those things are great ways to eat less without necessarily counting calories. But I have to say, I've been getting so many emails and so many people contacting me saying that, Mike, I've been doing 16-8, I've been time-restricted eating, I've been doing 5-2, I've been doing all these different things, and I just stopped losing weight. I'm not getting the results. And then unfortunately, what you really have to do is just start tracking some things, tracking calories, tracking protein, make sure you're eating healthy by you taking enough fibers. That's what we're going to talk about today. Let's see. Hey, Lynn is here too. Thanks for showing up, Lynn. I really appreciate it. My oncologist says I can't fast because of my medication. I understand that. That's good. You're going to like this then. Because, my basic belief has always been with intermittent fasting. Not maybe as much when I was doing it, 12 years ago. But my biggest belief with intermittent fasting has always been time-restricted eating, is that it's a great way to just eat less without necessarily having to count calories. Like most people, like I say, you give them a shorter eating window, they're just going to eat less food. And, that's been my biggest struggle working with clients for over 30 years. They come to my gym, they get a great workout all the time. But then when they leave the gym, right, they just eat too much and they just don't live a healthy lifestyle outside of working out with me. So I loved intermittent fasting for that. For me, it was just the easiest way for me to get people to eat less. I tell people, eat 2 meals a day in an 8-hour eating window. 90% of the people will eat less, at least in the beginning, until they really get used to it, and then they seem to start upping the calories. So I understand, Lynn. I think you'll benefit from this live stream. You don't have to do intermittent fasting. But I want you to start tracking calories, taking enough protein and fiber. We're going to talk about it in great detail. Let's see what Jeff has to say. Jeff, hey, it's fine now. It just never shows me your first few seconds. I don't know what. Maybe I start talking too soon, Jeff. I hit the button. I'm using that Ecamm Live software. So it's like, there's a couple of different things that has to be processed. Next time I'll wait a good 30 seconds and then I'll start speaking. I used to use a countdown screen, like a 30-second countdown screen. And maybe I'll start doing that again. But the whole idea is, with these YouTube videos, is you want to hook people right away. That's why I don't really say hello in the beginning. I try to tell people what the live stream is going to be about. So people don't just go to a different video. And also, guys, give me a thumbs up on this video. Share with anyone you can. Let's try to get a lot of people in the live stream today. Hey, Darlene, thanks for showing up too. Morning, great for showing up. I love that face picture with the butterfly. Okay, this is Jeff again. Back when you did the on-screen count-out, I didn't have that problem. Yeah, I know. I was advised not to do that because sometimes people come to the live stream, they see a countdown, they say, "What's this guy?" I want the content, I don't want to see this countdown, so I would lose people. But maybe I'll start doing it again. We'll figure it out. Okay, so the main things we're going to discuss here is going to be calories, like how to determine the ideal calorie deficit formula, because you have to really be in a deficit to lose weight. But I have to say, I did find two studies. I did find one study, and I've talked about this in the past. There was one study, though, on weightlifters who ate the same exact amount of calories, right? Like, for example, like for a month, I'm going to shorten the study a little bit. They took these weightlifters and they made them eat the same amount of calories, same amount of protein, fats, and carbs, right? For let's say a 6-week period. And they did it in a normal eating window, like breakfast, lunch, dinner, like a 12-hour eating window. Then they had them do it, they let them, regroup, take a month off, do it again, where they ate 3 meals only in an 8-hour eating window, like from 12 to 8 p.m. And the group that did that did actually lose more body fat. So, but I do believe they really have to be in a calorie deficit. That's kind of like an outsider type study. But there was one study. There was also a study on cyclists that I read who were able to lose more body fat, lose more body fat, eating the same amount of calories as someone else doing this intermittent fasting thing. But, hey, you still have to be in a calorie deficit, in my opinion, to lose weight. So we're going to go with that in great detail. Hey, Iris, thanks for showing up. Yeah, that's great. Germany, right? Beautiful. Thanks for showing up. That's great. And we got Margaret. Hi from Greensboro. Oh, well, that's great. Hey, really cool. This is great. People from all over are showing up today. This is awesome. Hey, Gwen. Hope you had a nice Easter, Gwen. That was great. Great to see you. I missed with Easter stuff all day. I figured that I wasn't going to do live stream on Easter, but I have a lot of traveling coming up because actually both, like I said, I have twins, and both of my kids are graduating from college this semester, and unfortunately, they graduate on the same day, which I cannot believe. So I'm doing this crazy thing where I'm going to take a 6-hour car ride to see my daughter for one day and then drive like 8 hours and go see my sons graduate. But they have a lot of things going on. My daughter's in a half marathon. She's coming up in 2 weeks in D.C., which I cannot wait to go see that. I'm going to see her run the half marathon. And my son has his last track meet. My son's been an incredible runner his whole life. He's a mid-distance runner, 800 meters, 1,500 meters, miler. He has his last, real official college meet, not this weekend, coming up the following weekend. So I'm going to go up and see him there, too. That's why I didn't want to miss Easter last Sunday, because I may have to miss a live stream here or there. Let's see. Oh, wow, I forgot you had twins. Yeah, it's really incredible. It's funny because my kids get along so well. They're really like husband and wife, in a lot of ways. But when they were really little, like 1, 2, 3, 4, I always wanted a third child because I felt it was such survival mode. Just to, it's so difficult when you have twins. I used to look at friends of mine had one kid and say, "Oh my God, that's a piece of cake having one kid." I didn't sleep for 3 years. I mean, you just, I'm sure a lot of you people have kids, so you can explain. But twins are really rough. A friend of mine had triplets, which I can't believe. I mean, whenever I would go to his house, he'd just hand me a child. It was incredible. But I loved having twins. And then actually, it got easier when they got older because they were just each other's best friends and they got along so well. So it just was great. Okay. So we're gonna go over my weight loss calorie formula, how to get into a calorie deficit. And we'll give you a couple of different options. And I also want to talk about calorie cycling. I've been putting a couple of people in a program like that, and it's been working really well, where every few days you up your calories. I think it's good for your metabolism. We'll talk about that. Then we'll talk about why it's so important to take enough protein. Protein is key. Even when you go into a calorie deficit, you never want to cut back on protein no matter what. I shouldn't say that. Unless you're looking to do something like you want to downregulate mTOR and do like a fasting type thing. And then fiber, which is key. It's so important to taking enough fiber. If you're eating fiber, in my opinion, you're eating healthy. That means you're eating vegetables, you're eating some fruits, things like that. And then we'll go over what I consider the minimalist when it comes to like living an active lifestyle, when it comes to like working out and things like that. And then we'll do at the end, which I love. I ate some different things this week, so I'm going to show you. I'll show you exactly like some of the foods that I was eating this week, and we'll go through a whole like a meal plan type thing. Okay, this is great. My twin sister is my best friend. Oh, that's so great. I didn't realize you were a twin, Gwen. That's fantastic. That's great. Okay, so let's go over. Oh, maybe I forgot to adjust that camera angle. My hair's looking a little strange today, guys, too, because I just jumped out of the shower. So I was going to gel it, but I decided not to. Okay, so let's go over my calorie formula. And it's interesting. I think recently, though, MyFitnessPal, that's the app that I like to use when it comes to tracking your calories. It's still a free app, but for many years you were able to use like bar coding, like you can take a food, put the app with the camera on the barcode, and it would tell you how many calories it would store for you. But recently, though, they seem to be charging for some of those features. So it's not that expensive. I think it's like $5-6 a month. I do think it's worth it. But if you don't want to spend the money on something like that, you can still enter everything in. But I think it's a great app. And like I say, once in your life, you really have to track calories like protein, fats, and everything for carbs and all that stuff for at least a couple of weeks, at least once in your life. It is such an eye-opening thing. Most people just don't realize how many calories they're consuming. They really don't until you start tracking everything. And if you do it once, I've done it so many times in my life, I can kind of estimate how many calories in a meal just by looking at it. And even if you do the paid version of MyFitnessPal, and I don't make any money from MyFitnessPal, I just like the app. You can even take a picture of your meal, and it'll give you a reasonably good indication of how many calories in the meal, which is really, really amazing too. Okay, so let's go over my calorie formula. You may have heard it before. I know a lot of people here who've been showing up every week. I think the ideal deficit to be in is just to multiply your body weight by about 10 or 11. 10 is somewhat aggressive. I think 11 is pretty aggressive. Most people will be losing weight at 12, maybe even 13, definitely 12. But I think 10, 11 is my favorite. So I always give the example. Let's say you're 175 pounds. I think 1,750 calories is a nice calorie deficit to be in. It's reasonable. Where things get a little hairy, like out of control, is either extreme of the end. Like, for example, I have that video. I think I got 1 million views on TikTok where I took a woman who weighed 150 pounds. And then I talked about how to get into a calorie deficit formula if you want to weigh 120 pounds. And a lot of people got on my case a little bit because a number of women who read that say, I am 110 pounds. I want to weigh 90 pounds. First of all, it depends on how tall you are. When I made that video, I had my wife in mind. My wife is like 5'2". She's like a perfect weight, 114 pounds, 5'2". And, muscular. She's in great shape. So I was making that video for someone petite. But I did get a number of women saying, Mike, I want to weigh, 90 pounds. Should I only eat 900 calories? And I said, no, I don't think you should. It's hard to go below 1,200 calories and get all your vitamins, minerals, and nutrients unless you're just doing something intermittently. Like, for example, say you're doing the 5-2 diet, where you're eating maintenance calories for 5 days, and then 2 days out of the week, you go into an extreme calorie deficit. I think it's okay then, because 5 days out of the week, you're taking in good nutrition, enough protein, all that. But when it comes to this calorie formula, if you're very light, you may not want to go 10 times your body weight. I probably wouldn't go below 1,200 calories, right? And on the other end too, let's say you're 300 pounds and your goal weight is to weigh like 180. You may not want to go 3,000 calories a day. You may want to either go with your goal weight. 18 is kind of aggressive. You may want to go somewhere in the middle. But you want to be in a calorie deficit. And if you want something a little bit more sophisticated, you can use one of those online calculators. They're free. You can Google it. You see them on the internet all the time. The better ones ask you multiple questions. I'll ask you, because activity does it. If you notice here, I made a little note on the bottom of the slide in blue. Keep activity levels in mind. Like, for example, my son, who runs, 70, 80 miles a week, obviously is burning in the same more calories than like me or you. So if he wants to lose a little bit of weight, I wouldn't have him do 10 times his body weight. I'd maybe have him do 14 times, 15 times his body weight, something like that. So these online calculators can ask you a lot of questions, your activity level, and kind of estimate. Like, when I went to school for all this stuff, this is actually pre-app, almost pre-internet in a way. Yes, pre-internet, right? You would hand someone a questionnaire. They'd answer like 20 questions. We try to figure out the basal metabolic rate, how many calories they're burning at rest and activity. We do this whole calculation. it takes a lot of time and effort, but I found just from 35 years of experience, 10, 11 times your body weight, I think is a great calorie deficit. So if you're 170, if you're 175, 1750, 18, 1900 calories, I think you'll do great. And then maintenance calories, I like the formula 15 times your body weight is a great way to do it. Or you're going to hear me talking about it because we're going to be talking about cycling calories, because my general rule is I wouldn't want anyone to be in a calorie deficit beyond about 6 weeks. I want to talk about that in the next slide coming up, because of metabolic adaptation, because your metabolism slows down. So every 6 weeks, I do like people to go into like a maintenance phase and stay there for a week or two, even 2 weeks. And the research is a little mixed on that. There's one great study that says it really does work, where they took two groups of people. For example, they had some people in a calorie deficit for 6 weeks. Then they put them at maintenance calories for 2 weeks, compared to people who just stayed in a calorie deficit. They looked at them years down the road, and the people who did the diet breaks were able to keep the weight off better and had higher, and had better metabolism, like faster, and better performing metabolism, which is great. So I do love the idea of diet breaks. Okay, what should your macros be if you want to build muscle too? In fact, I say the key is always eating enough protein. And we're going to talk about protein a lot in this thing. If you're really into muscle building, I would go a little bit more than what I'm going to recommend. I would go with that classic formula, like just 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And then when you're going into a calorie deficit, truthfully, you can probably, let's say not health, right? Like we're talking about, you want to maintain as much muscle you can, and you just want to get lean. You can almost backfill your calories with protein and fats any way you want. But if you want to do it the healthy way, I think you should do it where you always keep protein high. You won't need enough carbohydrates so you have energy to work out, but you never want to fill your muscles and liver up to the brim with glycogen, so your triglycerides, they all that, and you want to take in enough fiber. You want to take 35, 40, even 50 grams of fiber a day. It's really up to you. As long as you're eating an adequate amount of protein. If you want to go healthy, you can keep your fats and carbs kind of even. I'm more of a low carb guy, because I think most of the empty calories are carbohydrates. And it seems like those bad carbs, like the cookies, the cakes, also are high in fat at the same time. So I'm more of a low carb, but you have to experiment. You want to eat enough carbohydrates so you're going to get a good pump in the gym. You have enough energy to work out, yet you don't want to overfill your muscles and liver with glycogen. And also too, there were many times in my life when I've been 100% fat adapted. I did very low carb eating for a long time. I'm more of a moderate carb eater now. I eat about 100, 150 grams of carbs a day. That's my sweet spot. And if I want to lose weight, like I'm saying, I want to maintain my muscle, I just cut back on calories. I never cut back on protein. I'll just reduce carbs and fats. And I always messing around with the ratio of carbs and fats. And I've talked about this in the past too. For many, many years, in my 20s, my 30s, in my early 40s, I ate more of a traditional bodybuilding diet like I'm talking about with you. 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. I ate pretty high carb because I wanted a lot of energy to work out, and I ate very low fat. And I looked good, but I have to say I was hungry all the time because I was constantly spiking insulin and constantly eating carbs. I would eat multiple meals a day too. And my blood work was good, but not as good as it is now. Meaning my triglycerides were so much lower. My triglycerides in the 40s. And my fasted blood glucose is so good. When I was younger and supposedly even fitter and healthier, my blood work wasn't as good when I was eating a very high carb diet, lower in fat. So, you really can do it either way. You got to experiment, see what works best for you. I think you can do it almost any way as long as you're eating enough protein. And I even think you can do it with 2 meals and a protein shake or protein bar today, which we're going to talk about as well too. Okay, let's see. Hey, Alexandra, thanks for showing up again. I appreciate it. Hey, Mike, what do you prefer? 3 meals that contain 10 grams of protein or 1 meal that contains 30 grams of protein? I think that they're both on the lower end, totally safe. I would probably say 3 meals with 10 grams, but Alexander, I'd like to know once again, what your whole plan is. I like the context of why you're asking a question like that. I probably would want you, I think we had you at almost 80, 90 grams of protein, right, for the whole day. I probably want you having 3 meals with 30 grams of protein. You know what I mean? So 10 grams of protein to me is just a little bit of a protein snack somewhere, or maybe I think 10 grams is a nice intra-workout protein drink that when you're working out, it's nice to have some amino acids in your drink, to help with muscle recovery just a little bit. That's like from the Nutrient Atomic book, Don Levy. That was a great book. Okay. Iris, I weigh 95 kilograms. That means I should eat about 900 to 980 kilograms per day. I'm so bad with the kilograms to, I have my calculator right here. Let me just do this quickly, Iris. I'm going to just convert this for you. If people don't know, you take 95. We're going to multiply that by 2.2. So you get 209 pounds. Let's times that by 10. Yeah, I want you to eat about 2,100 calories. Let's divide that by 2.2. Yeah, no, you're right on, Iris. Yeah, right around there for sure. I think you're good. That sounds good. Okay, let's we got here. Yeah, how much water do you recommend for males? I like that classic formula too. I like drinking half your weight in ounces of liquids per day. So if you're 150 pounds, 75 ounces of liquid. I prefer mineral type water because it has a little sodium in it. You absorb the water much better. It has some electrolytes in it, some calcium, some magnesium, like things like that. But you also can take into account, like for example, if you're eating 35 grams of fiber or 40 grams of fiber, like I'm going to recommend, like a water-based diet. I used to even prescribe that to people years ago too. If you're eating a lot of salad, you're eating a lot of vegetables, you're eating a couple of fruits, right? Even coffee, even though it's somewhat of a diuretic, like, you're getting liquids there. If you're eating like a very vegetable, like plant-based meal in addition to your animal proteins, you may not have to go half your weight in ounces, but I think that's a good rule. And it's easy to drink half your weight in ounces a day. You can easily do it. Like I wake up in the morning, I love my half my lemon in 16, sometimes 32 ounces. I'll drink a liter of like Pellegrino first thing in the morning. I just absolutely love it. And you just feel better. Sometimes I get more energy and I feel more awake when I do my, Pellegrino water with a little bit of lemon than drinking coffee, which is really amazing. I really love it. It's interesting because it happened to me today. We had a kind of a weird day yesterday. We got home very late because, like I said, I was at my son's track meet and all that, and we really didn't have a chance to eat. I almost did like a nomad day. I kind of ate later than I really wanted to. And this morning I just felt off. I had a cup of coffee. This is actually this would be my third cup. I had a cup of coffee, I had a second cup of coffee, regular coffee. I just didn't feel awake. Then I drank 32 ounces of mineral water with, I did half of a lemon in one, 16, half a lemon in another. I felt like, oh my God, I felt so, like just a surge of energy, which tells me I must have just been dehydrated. And I just needed the liquid. I was off yesterday. I didn't drink as much water as I should have, which was kind of really, really interesting. Okay. So we got the general calorie formula, 10, 11 times your body weight, unless you're really heavy, unless you're really, really on the light side, right? And then maintenance calories is going to be about 15 times your body weight, or maybe like 750 calories over 10 times your body weight. Activity level you have to take into account. If you're really active, I probably would use an online calculator, which will ask you more questions and kind of calculate how many calories you're burning. If you're doing something like my son's doing, like you're running 70, 80 miles a week. If you're going to the gym every day and you're really walking a lot. Yeah, exactly. I had Iris at about 2,100 calories, per day. I may have messed up the kilogram type things. Okay, let's see. Okay, and this is a cool slide because I really do like calorie cycling. I like it for multiple reasons. Okay, and all calorie cycling means is that some days you eat more than other days. So, for example, you go into a calorie deficit, and then maybe you go into maintenance calories. And I like this for multiple reasons. First of all, the big one is metabolic adaptation. Whenever you lose weight and you become smaller, you require less calories, right? Your metabolism, like you're a smaller person, is going to slow. You don't need as many calories, and it's a good normal thing, right? It's supposed to happen. But you can over-exaggerate the metabolic adaptation by staying in like an aggressive calorie deficit for extended periods of time. And I always give this example. There's been a lot of study done on people who, in that crazy show, The Biggest Loser, who were like aggressively restricted calories, exercising like crazy, did it for like months on end during the course of this TV show. And there's been a lot of studies on them, like post-show, and so many of the people gain their weight back. And even when they gain their weight back, their metabolism is lower than before they started. It kind of messes up your whole system. First of all, you're nutrient deficient when you like extremely restrict calories for too long. So my general rule is every 6 weeks, take 2 weeks off, take a diet break. Or another way of doing it, which I love, which I'll talk about here, what I mean by cycling calories too, is that every 4 or 5 days, go to maintenance calories. That's personally what I like to do when I go into a deficit, because I always want enough energy to work out. And when you're always in a deficit, sometimes you may not be feeling great, especially with me, because I do more of a lower carb diet. Like I'll go, and maybe after 4 or 5 days, maybe I'll dip into like a mild state of ketosis. Then I want to eat more. So some people will use the term carb cycling, and that's kind of more what I do. But I think calorie cycling is fine too. So if you're like, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, FCH. I don't want to pronounce it wrong. So for example, if a chat is concerned about going into a deficit and not losing muscle, he's going to keep his protein high. Maybe say he's doing equal fat and equal carbs. So when he calorie cycles, he doesn't have to eat more protein. He's going to keep his protein where it is, but he's going to just increase maybe his fats and carbs evenly, eating an additional like 700 calories every 4 or 5 days. I like that because it kind of fills your muscles up with glycogen, gives you good energy to work out, gives you a nice pump in the gym. Plus, it also makes the diet more sustainable long term. Like some people have a really difficult time even staying in a calorie deficit for 6 weeks. So if you know like once every 4 days, you can do a maintenance day. So for example, if you're 175 pounds, let's say you're eating 1,750 calories 4 days in a row, or even 3 days in a row, you go to 2,500 calories for a day. It really makes the diet a lot more sustainable. Plus, you can work this around your lifestyle. Like, say you like to go out every Wednesday night with your girlfriends, your guy friends, whatever. Go out with your wife, your boyfriend, girlfriend. You can indulge yourself a little bit. You can have a glass of wine. You can have a little bit of bread with dinner, something like that. And you can do that once every 4 days. I do think it makes the diet a lot more sustainable. The only thing I would make a note of is, like, I know myself, when I do that, I still try to eat like my normal diet, which I like. Like I still try to avoid trigger foods because I know myself. Like for example, I've talked about this in the past. My trigger food is like potato chips. Let's say I'm doing a calorie cycling thing where once every 4 or 5 days I'm going to eat 750 more calories. I'm not going to go with potato chips because I know that if I have a potato chip that day, I'm going to want it every single day. Even pasta with me, like pasta. If I eat pasta once, I want it every single day. So I just increase my calories, with good healthy foods. You can do it maybe with some trigger foods, but you have to know yourself. Like I find the biggest mistake for most people when they go off their diet is they say, I went off my diet. Hey, I went off my diet yesterday. Let me eat whatever I want today. The key is you have to know when you're cycling calories, it's a 1 day or maybe even a 1 meal where you're going to be eating an additional more calories. And I still would avoid those trigger foods. Everyone should have a list of trigger foods that you can't have in your house. For me, it's the potato chips, right? Even certain foods like the pasta. Like I love like a meatball hero or something like that. I just love things like that. I just very, very extreme, on rare occasion will I eat them because, hey, I can't, be doing this and be overweight and all that type of stuff. Let's see. Okay. Hey, Lynn, let's see, Lynn. Okay, here's Lynn's question. 30 grams of protein per meal sounds like much. Sounds like so much. Okay, how do you get this in? I'm a pescatarian, so meat isn't an option. I'm more of a pescatarian too, Lynn. It's pretty easy, Lynn. A general rule is every 4 ounces of chicken, fish, or meat, like 4 ounces of salmon. You may look it up, and one person might say, oh, it's 35 grams. Another person might say 25 grams. But I like to say 4 ounces is about 25 grams of protein. So all you'd have to do is have 5 ounces. And to me, that's a pretty small portion of any fish that you like. Shrimp, it's going to be like just a small amount of shrimp. You can easily get 30 grams of protein. I think you can even go more per meal, And we're going to talk about in the next slide, we'll go into protein. But it's really easy. And that's why we'll see as we go on. I love the 2 meals a day with a protein shake in the middle. And you can also, hopefully you'll also consider having protein shakes or even like a protein bar, something like that. But 30 grams is easy to get. Like an egg, every egg is maybe 7 grams of protein. So it would be 4 eggs, which maybe seem like a little excessive to you, but I eat a 4-egg omelet all the time. But with fish, you can easily get it. You just think 5 ounces. And what you might want to do, and I do this all the time too with the fishmonger, I like him to cut me like 8-ounce portions, things like that. So I know an 8-ounce piece of fish, I don't have to weigh it, I don't have to cut it in my house. He doesn't mind doing it. They're really nice in where I get my fish. I know 50 grams of protein per section. I just keep it in the refrigerator like that. which is really nice. Okay, so we got the calorie deficit, we got the calorie cycling. Oh, here's Iris. I think Iris got another question. Okay, thanks, Mike. Very kind of you. Jesus protect you and keep always. Oh, thanks, Iris. I appreciate it. That's really nice. Thanks. Hey, here's Gwen. Oh, I'm missing some questions. Sorry, guys. Okay, what do you think about intuitive eating? Can you truly lose weight? Okay, truthfully, I'm not exactly sure what you mean by intuitive eating. I know like what intuitive means. I'm talking about like instinctively, like just going with like what you think. I think, truthfully, Gwen, everything's going to be calories. In my, even if I think calories, like I say, calories, protein, and fibers, but even calories and protein, which we're going to talk about next. As long as you're keeping calories in line and you're taking in an adequate amount of protein, and you're going to see what my formula is, or you probably know what I'm going to say in the next slide, you can be intuitive and kind of eat whatever you want and do really well, maintain your weight, lose weight. If you're in a deficit, stay in maintenance. It's all calories is king, and protein. And I know I've been talking about intermittent fasting, time restricted eating for years, but if you really watch my videos and you listen to me, 90% of the time I'm saying like most people just eat less. And I do think there's benefits to being in a fasted state too, like keeping insulin levels low, and autophagy is the thing, recycling of cells and things like that. And it's good to give your digestive tract a rest. But the main benefit, I think, of time-restricted eating, intermittent fasting, is just that most people eat less. So I think if that's what you mean by intuitive eating, Gwen, I think you can do that as long as you're not eating too much, right? You're keeping your calories either at maintenance to maintain your weight or deficit to lose weight, and then you need enough protein. And we'll talk about that a lot, but let's see what Debbie. Hey, Debbie, how you doing? What parameters do you use when carb cycling in terms of macros? Yeah, like I said, the first thing I would do is first figure out your calories. That's the biggest thing. Okay, calories number one. So if you want to be in a deficit, 10, 11 times your body weight. The second thing I would do is what we're going to talk about now. So let's pull this protein slide up. Is protein, right? The easy way to figure out protein is if I would just take your body weight and times it by 0.7. You can do that. So let's use that same example. That person is 175. I got my calculator here, times 0.7. That's like 122, 123 grams of protein, right? If you want to get more sophisticated and you happen to know what your body fat levels are, which is kind of hard to determine, you can use an electrical impedance scale, or you can try to calculate it online. I would go 0.9 grams, but I like 0.0 grams. I think is a reasonable amount of that. So look at it like this: it's 4 calories per gram of protein. So you take, let's say you're 175 pounds, you take that 122, you times it by 4, that's 490. So 500 calories are coming from protein if you're 175 pounds. And let's say you're eating 1,750 calories a day minus 500, that leaves you with 1,250 calories. This is when you can kind of, Debbie, do what you want. What I do, I eat relatively lower carb. Say I eat 150 grams of carbs a day, that's going to be 600 calories. So if I was following this formula, that would leave me 650 calories of fat. You can mess around with the carbs and the fat depending upon like the food you like to eat, or depending upon what you're looking to do. Like if you want to be like a fat adapted person, you may want to go very low carb, and you want to be just like more of a fat burner. But it also depends on how much fat you're eating, right? So it's not like, I'm a little bit of a low carb. You can really mess with the macros. What you can't mess with, when I say macro, I mean fat and carbs. You can mess around with them and experiment and see what works best for you. But I would never cut back on the protein. And then the calories are going to determine whether you're gaining, losing, or maintaining your weight. So calories number one. If you want to lose weight, you have to be in a deficit. If you want to maintain your weight, you stay in maintenance. The reason why you want to always keep your protein up, and it's interesting because reading, or listening to this Peter Attia's book, he went over all the leading research on nutrition and how to lose weight, and he concluded pretty much the same thing as me. Protein is key for so many reasons. First of all, it's the most satisfying of all the macros. You eat protein, and protein's always going to come with some fat. Look at it like that, right? If you're a pescatarian like Lynn, you're eating salmon, you're eating sardines, right? You're eating oily type fish, you're eating protein and fat. If you're a meat eater, you're eating your red meats coming with fat, right? Eggs come with fat, things like that. So the protein with a little fat is incredibly satisfying, helps you maintain with the diet. Plus, it's the building blocks of the body. You want to maintain your muscle mass. It's so key, especially when you get older. And the older you get, the more protein you need. It seems, and I do. I'm also a big believer. I talk about this too in the protein leverage hypothesis, meaning that you will keep on eating until you reach your protein requirements for the day. Meaning that, let's say you're supposed to take in, like this 175-pound person, 122 grams of protein. If you're picking foods that are low in protein, let's say you're a vegetarian. I have nothing against vegetarians. My brother's a vegetarian. My best friend's a vegetarian too. I have vegan clients. But let's say your goal is to get to 122 grams of protein, and you don't need red meat, you don't need animal protein. You may have to take in so many calories if you're eating low protein type food to get to 122 grams of protein that you're going to start gaining weight. That's why if you're a vegetarian or a vegan, I recommend you supplement your diet with like protein powders, like a pea protein, a complete protein, hemp seed protein, things like that. It's really hard. I do believe in that protein leverage hypothesis. Plus, I also find when people don't eat enough protein, they don't get enough iron, they just become nutrient deficient. I think protein is key. Plus, it's the highest in thermic effect of all the macronutrients, meaning that when you take in 100 calories of protein, you're going to burn up 25-30% of those calories just digesting and processing the protein, which fats and carbs are nowhere near that. It's much, much less. So protein is key. I would never cut back on protein no matter what when you're looking to lose weight. Okay, so just a review. And I know I used it was kind of like a clickbait type thing, the 4 secrets, but these aren't really secrets. The key, number 1, if you want to lose weight, be in a calorie deficit, right? Number 2, make sure you're taking enough protein. You can go 0.7 grams times your body weight. And the same thing holds true too when I was talking about calories. If you're really, really overweight, like say you're 300 pounds, but your goal weight is 175, I wouldn't want you eating 250 grams of protein. You can use your goal weight, right? Same thing if you're really petite. You may not want to, on either ends, you may not want, I wouldn't want you to go too low on protein. Let's say you're a gal and you're 120 pounds and you want to weigh 108. Just make sure you're taking enough. I still would probably want you eating like 90 grams of protein or so. I wouldn't go too low on the protein. It's, you can't go wrong. And I don't think you can hurt yourself even going higher, but some bodybuilders go 2 grams per pound of body weight. You eventually reach your point of diminishing returns and then it's just excess calories. But most people don't eat enough protein. It's interesting because when we went to my son's, track meet yesterday, at the end of the meet, they had like a whole food, like everyone brought food. To me, when I looked at the food there, that's why I really didn't eat yesterday because it was so protein deficient. Like, there was so much pasta and like food, like the thing, and salad, which is good. The pasta's not that great, but there was so much food. But when I looked at like the macros of all the food that was there, first of all, it was just carbs and fat. That was 90% of the food. There was a little bit of like, there was a few meatballs there, but I'm not going to eat meatballs because that I just made, unless I would make them myself, they'll be loaded with salt and who knows the type of oils they're using and things like that. So I didn't eat the meatballs. That a little bit of some chicken cutlet looking thing, but small pieces of chicken. There was a little strips of chicken like accented on top of the salad. There must have been 150 people there. I'm sure 5% of the calories came from protein. And there was tons of cookies and cakes and desserts, obviously. But most of it was just empty carbohydrates and unhealthy fats type calories. And unfortunately, that's the typical American diet. I think most people are really protein deficient, for sure. Okay, so we got that. So number 1, calories. Number 2, protein. And this is when it comes to that fat and carbs scenario. I used to like map out the macros for people much more and everything, but lately, in the last year or so, I like just saying this. Let's see who's here. Hey, Crystal, thanks for showing up. I really appreciate you showing up. Oh, I like that before and after. Those are nice pictures. Good morning. Let's see what Patel's got here. Okay, my trigger food is croissants. Is that what that is? A croissant? Sometimes I can't read with my eyes. Actually, I got the contacts in today, so it seems to be working okay. I love croissants too. I wouldn't say it's a trigger food for me, but I absolutely love them. I said it's interesting because there's this French pastry right near my gym in Mount Kisco that's incredible. And I won't eat them, but my kids love them. Like when my kids are home, they'll be home this summer, which I can't wait. I bring them these chocolate croissants. They're the best I've ever had. But it's interesting how everyone has their own trigger foods. I can eat a croissant, and I won't even desire another croissant like the next day. Whereas if I had like a bagel, like just basic. I love Wise potato chips with Ruffles. I can't keep them in the house. I will eat the whole bag. And I'm sure there's so much more to people say a croissant so much more of a better food than a potato chip, like so much more sophisticated food, but still, everyone has their own trigger foods or whatever they might be. They say, hey, Chris, let's see. I've been drinking a bottle of celery juice every day and really, oh, that's great. See, Chris is wonderful. First of all, he's done incredible. He's lost so much weight. You're probably down 40, you're probably down 65 pounds by now, right, Chris? Something like that, which is amazing. He's done so well. He's doing alternate day fasting now a little bit. He did time-restricted eating. He reduced his carbs. He reversed type 2 diabetes. He is just killing it. I'm so excited for him. And he does follow all my content, which I really appreciate it. And when I was away, I filmed the video right before I left over the weekend. I filmed a video on celery juice. I'm going to pull up one of my meals. I'll talk about celery juice at the end of this live stream. But celery juice to me is such a great drink for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's loaded with potassium. Like the adequate intake of potassium for the day is over 4,000 milligrams. Most people don't even come close. Like, for example, people think a banana is high in potassium. A banana is typically 100 calories, 400 milligrams of potassium. We're supposed to get 4,000. So you got to eat 10, 11 bananas, right? Which would be crazy. Who would want to take in all those calories in the form of bananas? But, fruits, salmon, is high in potassium, things like that. But celery juice for 15 ounces, and I buy the Evolutions brand, which is like the Starbucks brand. It's interesting. I put this video out. People are getting out of my case. You should only have fresh celery juice. I mean, sometimes I do the fresh celery juice. I do have a juicer, but it makes a lot of mess. And I can buy the Evolution brands, like 2 for $7, and they're literally almost 1,000 milligrams of potassium for only 35 calories. So just think, when you look at a banana, you'd have to eat almost 3 bananas. Which would be like 8, about 1,200. You would have to take in 300 calories, or you can have one celery juice, 35 calories, 1,000 milligrams of potassium, and that's like my style of thinking when it comes to eating like a nutrient dense type diet. Another great like good low calorie sources of potassium, like tomato juice, is really good too. I used to buy Very Veggie. I never did a video on that. I did a video years ago. I'll do a video on that too, maybe this week. It's called Very Veggies. It's like a tomato-based vegetable drink, really low in calories too. Same thing, super high in potassium. And I think it's important to do that, which is great. So I'm glad Chris is drinking the celery juice. Plus high in electrolytes too. I think it's a great workout drink, like a celery juice with a scoop of whey protein powder. I like to add some, nitric oxide enhancers like I talk about all the time too. I also would probably add a little beetroot powder to the celery juice and a little L-citrulline, which is going to give you a nice pump in the gym, good for blood flow, good for increasing nitric oxide. That's a great intro workout drink. I used to do that all the time. Let's see, Alexandra. Okay, Alexandra. This is Alexandra's question. I'm taking 6 meals a day, 3 protein shakes, and 3 solid meals, and I'm combining the 2 into 3 glasses containing 40 to 50 grams of protein each. Okay, so let me go over this again. So you're doing 6 meals a day, 3 protein shakes, and 3 solid meals. Okay, and I'm considering combining the 2 into 3 meals. Yeah, Alexandra, I probably would prefer that. Having 3 meals instead of doing 6 meals a day. I don't know what your eating window is. If you're doing a 1680, just eating a 12-hour eating window, I think 6 meals it could be a little excessive, just for those constant spikes in insulin and things like that. I probably would rather you do 3 meals, 40 grams each. You get 120 grams of protein. I think you can do that. But I mean, if the 6 meals is working for you and you're reaching whatever goal you want to reach, like your weight loss goals or whatever you're looking to do, and it's working for you and you're happy and you feel good, I wouldn't want to tell you not to do it, but I think 3 meals would probably be better. You get 3 spikes of insulin and then you get the lower insulin levels the other time. I think might be a little bit better for you. Okay, let's see. Okay, how difficult is it to get to 10 to 12% body fat? When I lose weight, I put it back on because I go too hard. Yeah, I know it's hard. It's hard for me to give you a specific answer. It's not easy. It's hard for me to get below 10% unless I want to really, really, I have to say no. I like to drink red wine a few days during the week. I would cut that out completely. I would really just track everything and tighten it up, even to the point where if I really want to get to sometimes I do this on my birthdays. Like I'll be 61 this year. Sometimes I do good, sometimes I don't. But sometimes I say, okay, I'm turning 60, I'm turning 61. Let me get to like 9%, really see my abs. But what I'll do what I'm talking about, get into a calorie deficit, keep my protein up, keep an eye on protein and on fats and carbs. But I would track everything. That's why bodybuilders and physique athletes do so well. That's why calorie counting really doesn't work great historically for the general population, because people do it for a few weeks, they do well, then they just say, I can't count calories anymore. They just don't want to stick to it. Like, physique athletes, like bodybuilders, people who are going to get on stage, even people on The Biggest Loser, the reason why they do so well is because they're leveraged, meaning that, they're on a TV show with millions of people watching them. They're not going to go off the diet. If they're hungry, they don't care that, they want to win the show. They want people that, same thing with bodybuilders, physique athletes. They want to look good on stage. They ignore hunger. They feel horrible. They don't care. They know they're going to be on stage. And I work with a lot of celebrities, like for movies and things where, they're miserable, but they know they're going to have their shirt off in a scene in a movie in 6 months. They're extremely motivated, That's why I always say, like, calorie count has always worked. And if you talk about it, and most people, like, the proteins always work too, because bodybuilders, physique athletes have always been eating tremendous amounts of protein. It's just that when it comes to the average person, they're just not going to stick to it because they get hungry, they get distracted, life gets in the way, they're not leveraged enough. But I do find it does work for regular people if you can find something. I wasn't going to talk about this in the video, but we'll talk about it now. It is important to find something that's going to leverage you. And I find with women, I don't mean to be, comparing men to women, but just from my own experience of working with thousands of people. Like I said, I'm 60. I started working at gym at the age of 16. I find with women a lot that's like events really keep them leveraged and motivated. Like, for example, they're getting married in a year and they want to lose 25 pounds. Their kids their daughter's getting married, their son's getting married, there's a bar mitzvah coming up, there's a big event, they go into the Oscars, right? They want to fit into this dress, and I don't mean to say women just that. Even could be, I have these powerful career women who are just incredible. We didn't even see my wife falls into that category. She's has an incredible career. She does amazingly well. My wife just stays leveraged because she feels that if she started gaining weight and didn't look good at work, it would just hurt her job. It would hurt her career. She would look like she doesn't have it together. I mean, that's just how she thinks. Not that I'm saying if you're overweight, you don't have it together, but that's her leverage in her head. When it comes to men, I find men get really concerned when they reach a certain age in their health too. Like, they go to they're 50, they turn 50, they go to the doctor, and the doctor looks at them and said, hey, if you want to make it to 60, your blood pressure's through the roof, your cholesterol, you're pre-diabetic, your A1C is, your hemoglobin is way too high. Either we're going to put you on everything. We're going to put you on metformin. You're going to be injecting yourself with insulin twice a day, right? We're going to put you on statins. I find men freak out with that. And that's a good leverage for men, where they're just concerned, And I've sometimes I could be too nice with clients, and then I reach a point with them where I say, hey, you're gonna let's find something. Like, I talked to men. I've had men convinced that if they don't start changing their life, they're not going to see their grandkids. Like, their kids just got married. Like I said, do you think you're going to be around in 20 years to see your kids? And sometimes I have to do that with people. You have to figure out something that's going to keep you on track, right? With this whole diet thing and weight loss thing. It's such a psychological game. There's so many different ways to do it. I love the intermittent fasting. I love that. You have to be in a calorie deficit, but you have to find something that's going to keep you leveraged. That's why, like I'm saying, that's why physique athletes, bodybuilders do so well when it comes to counting calories and tracking everything, because there's leverage. And even Jason Fung, and I love his books. He wrote the book, The Obesity Code, and he's kind of known for saying, like, calorie counting doesn't work. But I've listened to him, I've read his book multiple times, a couple of his books, and I've heard him on multiple podcasts. And when people straight up ask him, do calories count? He always said, no, calories count, but counting calories doesn't work. And the reason why and if you really listen to what he's saying, the reason why it doesn't work is because people just can't stick to it. It's a difficult thing to do. I know. I wish I can pronounce your name correctly for chat. It's just so difficult counting calories. But that's why I do like what we were talking about earlier. That's what I do like, not going in too aggressive of a calorie deficit, taking diet breaks, or cycling calories to make it sustainable. But I'm glad we brought this up because everyone here, try to find something that's going to leverage you. That's going to keep you on track. Like I don't want to say who it is. I have this, he's I have these agreements with people. I can't talk about certain celebrities. They have PR teams, and I just don't think it's right for me to talk about some of my clients. But I have one guy who's on TV, like well, I think you would know him. A reasonably well-known guy, gaining weight. He gained like 35, 40 pounds. And we're trying to figure out a way for me to keep him on track. And I want him to make up like these little cards and to put them like on the mirror when he shaves in the morning. Put them on his visor when he's driving. Put him, put it on tape it on the refrigerator. And we came up with this. I don't even want to tell you what it is. We came up with this slogan that he would look at that instantly leveraged him consistently. And I think it's working for him. He's doing pretty good. But you have to leverage, Jeff. You have to find something. Let's see. Okay. Okay. Also, what fiber source do you eat since you eat mostly low carbs? Can you list a few of your primary sources that are low? Yes, definitely. We're going to go into that. I would say, just quickly off the top of my head, avocado is my favorite. I eat an avocado every single day. 17, 18 grams of fiber, medium-sized avocado. Also low in potassium. Not low in calories, 300 or so, but I love avocado. And I would say quickly, generally just vegetables in general. All vegetables, high fiber, low calorie. I eat a lot of vegetables. I eat a lot of salads, arugula salads, almost like free foods, like in a way. Okay. Have to go. Oh, thanks, Lily. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm glad you're watching the replay. Also, guys, give me a thumbs up. Share this. We got a decent amount of people here. I really appreciate everyone showing up. Okay, here's Chris. I'm taking the beetroot pills. Oh, that's cool. And L-citrulline and the Kion essential amino acids and a scoop of L-glutamine every day. That sounds great. Oh, Chris is just killing it. So if everyone doesn't know what this is about, let me go over what this is. Okay. So I guess I talked about this about 10 minutes ago, talking about my like pre-workout, intra-workout drink. Okay, when you take, nitric oxide is a molecule that's naturally produced within the body. Like it vasodilates. It opens everything up. Great for blood flow. Gives you a great pump in the gym. Also for guys, it's even good if you're an older guy like me. It's good for people with erectile issues. Like I don't have erectile dysfunction, but I know a lot of people do. It can potentially help with that. There's some studies that show mild erectile dysfunction can be helped if you eat certain foods or you take supplements that increase nitric oxide. It naturally goes down when you get older. And most pre-workout drinks and shakes have nitric oxide enhancers. And beets are really high in nitrates. There's a couple of different mechanisms in which you can increase nitric oxide. Beets, if you're going to eat foods that are high in nitrates like beets, arugula, leafy greens like spinach, and beets are high in nitrates which convert to nitric oxide. Or you can take like an amino acid like L-citrulline, helps the body make arginine, another amino acid where when that's elevated, increases nitric oxide. So Chris is hitting it on both angles, and I do that. I'll take maybe a tablespoon of beetroot powder. Then I don't want to drink beet juice because juice is too high in carbohydrates, too high in calories. But you can do like a tablespoon of beetroot powder, which will be like 20 calories, which will be like drinking 8-ounce glass of juice, which could be 140 calories. You can get the same amount of nitrates in it. I do 6 grams of L-citrulline. The Kion essentials I like. So essential amino acids is like kind of like taking a whey protein powder, but you're getting it with much, much less calories. Like a whey protein powder has maybe 25 grams of protein, 120 calories. You can get your essential aminos, 10, 20 calories, same amount of amino acids. And then he's also doing L-glutamine, which is another great amino acid for recovery. So I love this. This is a great intra-workout, pre-workout, post-workout shake for sure. That's great. I think we lost some people. We had like 25 people. I should have went on the tangent too much, but thanks, Chris. That's great. Okay, let's go, Alexandra. Okay, I'm only eating 1,000 calories a day now. Very, very small meals like a Quest bar and 2 boiled eggs and ground beef patty plus 3 protein shakes. Okay, Gwen, I think we talked about this for Alexandra. I mean, I probably would want you to eat more calories than 1,000 calories. At least a couple hundred calories more. I mean, maybe you're getting all your vitamins, minerals, and nutrients. It's hard to say. I forget exactly what your weight is. I probably would definitely rather you do this with. I probably would want you eating more. I mean, I don't want to mess you up. I think you would say you were doing really good with this. Maybe you want to cycle. maybe one day 1,000, one day 1,200, just to make sure. I mean, I just want to make sure you're getting your potassium, you're getting your magnesium. Are you? I would ask you this too. Like we're going to talk about fiber. If you can stay at 1,000 calories and taking 100, well, you're eating 120 grams of protein. What's that? Let me go 120 times 4. So half your calories of protein. You're probably not getting 30, 35 grams of fiber then. You're probably not. I mean, you might be if you're really doing all protein like that. But you're getting the Quest bar. You're getting 15 grams from the Quest bar. You're probably low in potassium in certain things, probably. So you may not want to do it for too long of a period of time. But I know you're doing well. I think the last time you said you've been losing weight and you're happy with it. Okay. Also, I already lost 20 pounds, still 20 pounds to go. Okay, so I don't want to mess you up. It sounds like you're doing good. How's your energy level? You're feeling good. You're sleeping well. If everything else is good, you can stay with it. But every 6 weeks or so, then I probably would want you to take a diet break and eat 1,500 calories, even if you don't lose weight for a couple of weeks. Well, but hey, I don't know everything, right? Who knows? Mike, what are your thoughts on walking? Oh, I love it. Yeah, no, I love it. I must walk 10,000. What's that, about 5 miles a day? 10,000 steps. I think I love it. I mean, I do it almost every single day. I walk every single day. I generally walk first thing in the morning. And I talked about it last week because I'm changing I changed my last week I did a live stream, if you guys want to hear, on circadian rhythm and intermittent fasting. And I was doing early time restricted eating over the last year or so, where I would break my fast maybe 10 o'clock, be done earlier in the day with eating maybe 5:36. But now that it gets light out later in the evening, like summertime's coming. Like in New York, it'll be light at 8 o'clock, 8:15 in the evening. I'm going to switch my schedule where I'm probably going to eat later in the day, do more traditional late time restricted eating. But I'll walk first thing in the morning for 30, 45 minutes, and then I'll walk in the evening before it gets dark again. I love it, doing this split. Great for your circadian rhythm, great for your mental health. I just absolutely love it. I love the walking. And as of today, I've been fasting all day today. Sunday, I take my nice 2-hour walk along the Hudson River, which I'm going to do right after this live stream. So I love it. I loved it. 10,000 steps. Hey, Lynn, let's see what Lynn's got here. Okay. Can you recommend some good protein shakes? I like to make them with unsweetened almond milk. Great. I also like fruit in them. Maybe I shouldn't use fruit in them. What do you think? Yeah, it depends on your calories, Lynn. My favorite brand of protein powder is, I like Garden of Life. That's the brand. And if you look me up on Amazon, you put like Mike Cola Amazon, I have a listing of I do little reviews on Amazon, like the different video reviews and some of my favorite supplements and just things in general. I like Garden of Life, a whey protein isolate. The reason why I like that one so much is that the dairy source comes from Ireland, which I think is the only place in the world where they can truly like grass feed and grass finish their cows like year round. Just the climate is so ideal for that. There's other places in Australia that can do it maybe too. Southern California, there's some. I mean, I think in Northern California there's a couple of spots maybe, but I like Garden of Life if you want to do a whey protein. Like I said, it'll be 1 scoop, 120 calories, 24 grams of protein. They also have a plant version one, which I love too, a vegan one, which is like the pea protein and some bean protein. I think it tastes great too. That's probably my favorite brand. Muscle Feast too, I like. It's a little more of a bodybuilding brand. That's the L-citrulline I get, Muscle Feast. And they have a good protein powder too. I think it tastes great as well. So either of those is great. And when it comes to the fruit, if you love it, I just would minimize it. Like if you want to I would go with low sugar fruits if you can. Like if you want to put in like a handful of blueberries or raspberries or blackberries. Blackberries though, it gets a little bit, I don't know if the seeds, but something, they don't go down easy. I would do blueberries, raspberries, half a banana. I just wouldn't that's why I'm not a fan of smoothies, because people put so many sugar type calories in a smoothie. But these, I have to say, the brand of protein powder I recommend, it tastes great. There is monk fruit and some stevia, a little erythritol, like we talked about, like that sugar alcohol, which is a little debatable, but they don't put that much in it. The plant version of their protein powder doesn't have the erythritol in it. Doesn't have the sugar alcohols, but it does have monk fruit and I think stevia in it. It's sweetened like that, but it tastes great. So try that. It's not cheap. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it at your local store. A big tub, I've seen prices range anywhere from $40. I've seen them as high in Whole Foods as $59. So shop it around and see if you can get it at a good price. Okay, retired 2019. That sounds great. I wish I was able to do that. 2019. What are your thoughts on yoga and Pilates for men? I think it's great. It's interesting though. But what I would say is that nowadays, it means it's hard to even. I know what you mean, like yoga, Pilates, but it could be so different depending upon the class you're taking, the instructor you're using. Like years ago, it was a little bit more like when I started working in gyms, like Joseph Pilates, like the studio in New York. I think his descendants, his kids are still running it. Pilates was that. Joseph Pilates had a specific way of doing Pilates. Same thing with yoga, depending upon the yogi, they had a specific, like I know the hot yoga seems to be, they use a standard set of exercise and every class is like the same. But nowadays when you say yoga, it can mean 1,000 different things. When you say Pilates, it can mean 1,000 different things. I think any form of exercise is good as long as it doesn't hurt. Right? But I think it's great. I like yoga and Pilates. So I had to mention I'm lactose. Yeah, I think you're going to be okay. So, okay, that's a really important one. Then you want to do, that's why that Garden of Life, you'll be okay. Because it's a whey protein isolate. Okay, and whey comes from milk, comes from dairy. But everything is stripped out of it because it's an isolate, meaning that the carbs, the fats, if you're lactose intolerant, it's going to be gone. You're not going to have to worry about it. But I wouldn't do a whey protein concentrate. You're just going to have the fat and carbs, and it's going to upset your stomach. I'm lactose intolerant, and it would upset my stomach. So you can go with the plant-based ones or any whey protein isolate, not concentrate. Or if it says milk protein, that would upset your stomach too. Because that's going to have all the stuff in it that can possibly upset you. But an isolate, you should be okay. And generally, the whey proteins isolate may even have a little thing on the label saying if you're lactose intolerant, you should be okay. They generally say that because people always ask that question. Yes, Garden of Life. Yeah, that's the one I like. That's great. Perfect. Okay, so let's talk about this fiber thing. Okay, like I said, when it comes to, okay, so we got the calories, right? And then we got the calorie cycle and we got the protein. So when it comes to filling in the rest of your calories with fat and carbohydrates, what I've been telling people to do lately is just make sure you're eating between 30 to 50 grams of fiber a day or more. And what that's going to do, instead of necessarily, you could count fat and you could count carbohydrates, but another way of doing it is just make sure you're eating at least 30 grams of fiber. I'm upwards of 50, if not more. And what that's going to do is going to make sure that you're eating, like we said, an avocado every day with just 17 grams of fiber. It's going to make sure you're eating broccoli and cauliflower and string beans and beets and arugula salad. It's going to make you, a couple of fruits, like your berries, your raspberries, your strawberries, your low sugar fruits. It's going to make you eat healthy. And you can almost use, I think you can just go by that formula. Determine your calories first, then eat an adequate amount of protein and say, you know what, when it comes to my fats and carbs, I'm just going to make sure I'm eating 35 to 40 grams of fiber a day. And what happens is that if you don't get the 30 grams of fiber, but you went over your calories for the day, it'll tell yourself that, you know what, you probably didn't eat that healthy that day. Because maybe you snuck in some bread or some rice or some cookies or some cakes, and you didn't get your fiber in, you didn't eat your vegetables, you didn't eat your 2 fruits, you didn't eat your avocado, right? So I love the idea of fiber. So when it comes to backfilling calories, if you can backfill with high fiber, like nutrient-dense type foods, you're killing it. You're there, you're doing so great. Okay, this is Retired 2019. I don't like weighing food. Any suggestions for getting in a calorie deficit? Yeah, sure. No, we talked about this a lot in the beginning. If you watch the replay, but I would use like MyFitnessPal. I would just use one of those apps. You don't necessarily have to weigh your foods. If you use one of those apps on your phone, I like MyFitnessPal. It's a free app. You can just enter your foods. It's free, but if you want to pay for it, it has the barcode. It has pictures where you can take a picture of your plate of food. It'll tell you how many calories in your macros. I would just track things like that without weighing it. But I also, and we talked about this too, but what I also would do is that when it comes to buying meat, by buying chicken, buying fish, look at the weight in the container. Like I said earlier, when I buy fish, I ask the fishmonger, cut me 4 pieces of 8-ounce salmon. So I know at 8 ounce, I know it's 50 grams of protein. Even when you're buying your chicken, I buy Bell & Evans, that organic chicken, all the time. I look at the package and I say, okay, there's 1.5 pounds of chicken here. When I take it out of the package, I'll make 3 piles. A 1/2 pound each. I know 50 grams, 50 grams, 50 grams, 150 grams in the package here. And when I'm making it, I cook for me, for my wife, even my kids. I'm pretty conscious of how many grams of protein I'm eating and how many ounces of animal protein I'm taking in by using systems like that. Let's see what Alexander's got to say. Because I know weighing food is really annoying. Okay. This is Alexandra. I'm already adding 1 teaspoon of Metamucil to my protein shakes. Okay, that's good. But I was just wondering if you think it's better 3 meals with higher proteins. I think so. I probably would say 3 meals is probably better. Because then you're not like grazing all day. But I have to say, Alexandra, I still think, I know you can get to, that's the thing. I know you can probably get to that 30 grams of fiber with the Metamucil. And now you're eating a zone bar, a Quest bar, I mean, which is 14, 15 grams. Say you're getting another 10 grams of Metamucil. That's still not like eating real food. You know what I mean? Like you are getting the fiber, which is good for your digestive tract. It's probably keeping you satisfied. It's keeping you feeling full because you're eating only 1,000 calories a day. But it's not like eating a couple of cups of broccoli, which has so many vitamins and minerals and nutrients in it and fiber, right? It's not like eating an avocado, which not only are you getting 17 grams of fiber, you're getting a good monounsaturated fat, you're getting 1,000 milligrams of potassium in it. So maybe you can kind of trick the formula and, supplement your diet with high fiber, like a protein bar that's high in fiber, like a no-calorie Quest, and doing Metamucil, and get to your 30, 35 grams, and still be low on certain vitamins, minerals, and nutrients. But you're doing so well, and I would never tell you not to do it, because the main thing is to lose the weight. You're down 20 pounds, you want to lose 20 pounds more. Maybe you get down to lose the 20 more pounds, and then we'll try to figure out something for you where you can go to maintenance calories and increase your nutrition a little bit better. Because just think, restricting calories extends life, and being an optimal weight is like so important, for sure. And I know you're working out too, I think you said too. Okay. Hey, Margaret, how you doing? Thanks for showing up. I have several issues, but one is getting enough fiber and keep my carbs at no more than 20 per day. Well, 20 per day, that means I'm assuming you're doing like a ketogenic type diet. In your case, I would probably want you to eat an avocado, because I'm not sure. Okay. There's something called carbs and net carbs. Net carbs are total carbs minus fiber. See, people will say an avocado, Mike, 25 grams of carbs, right? 27 grams of carbs, but you're also getting 17, 18 grams of fiber. So the net carbs of an avocado is only 5 grams. If you're talking 20 grams of net carbs, I think you can easily do it. Get enough fiber. If you're talking 20 grams, no. If you're just taking 20 grams of carbs for the day, I don't think you're going to get in enough fiber. But there are people and doctors out there like Dr. Ken Berry, who I really like. He's on like the carnivore diet now. He says, no, you don't need the fiber. You don't need the potassium. Same thing with Dr. Paul Saladino. He wrote the Carnivore Code. But I have to say, even Paul Saladino, and I've talked about this in the past too, he lives in Costa Rica now. He's a big surfer, surfs 2-3 hours a day. He was like strict carnivore. Then he started having issues with electrolytes, and I think potassium. I've never heard him say potassium, but he says electrolytes. Potassium isn't an electrolyte, though. He may have meant sodium and whatever. He started eating a lot of fruit. He takes in 200-300 grams of fruit a day, and then he only eats animal protein, organ meats and stuff as well too. So I don't know, Margaret. It's hard. If you're really only eating 20 grams of carbs a day, I don't think you can reach, taking a good amount of fiber, unless you want to do it just with like what Alexander's doing, just with like Metamucil. Like, do you want the fiber because you're constipated or this or that, or you just think it's healthy? But if you want to do 20 net grams of carbs, I think you can definitely get to 30 grams of fiber. An avocado will get you more than halfway there, right? Maybe, some broccoli, which is like things like that, I think, which are, high in fiber, like things along the lines of that. I think it's important fiber, but it's really filling and satisfying. Okay, so like I said, I like this whole formula. And let's talk about this too, because I always like to talk about intermittent fasting, time restricted eating, my favorite formula. You can do exactly what I'm talking about, and you can even do it like what Alexander's doing, 6 meals a day. I'd rather you do 3. But my favorite formula is this 16-8 2MAD plus a protein bar protein shake. But let's see, we got a couple of questions first. Let's see with Lynn. So there's a question from Lynn. So what are good sources of fiber? I eat organic. However, I have several bowel movements a day now. Sorry to be, no, I know. I mean, I think it's actually good to go more than once, maybe a couple times. Some people feel it's good to go to the bathroom every time you eat, right? You eat 3 meals a day, you go to the bathroom 3 times a day. I mean, your system's moving, moving along really good. I'm going to show you some pictures at the end of this thing of some exact meals and some specific things. But number one, I love avocados. And then I would say number two, I would say vegetables. All of them. Whatever you like. This, they're low calorie, high fiber type foods. You cannot go wrong with vegetables. And I personally love accenting my meals with low sugar fruits. Like blueberries, raspberries, blackberries. Really all fruits. I just wouldn't do things like maybe I did in the past, like when I was doing more of that bodybuilding diet where I would just eat bowls and bowls of fruit. Like you go to a picnic and eat hamburgers, and I would eat hamburgers and just eat an insane amount of fruit, eat 2 pounds of fruit. Like I wouldn't do that, because you do have to keep an eye on fructose to some degree. Fructose is probably the worst sugar you can possibly eat. And the really bad fructose is more like, sodas, high fructose corn syrup. See, the liver can only hold 50 grams of, say, fructose. And fructose doesn't even spike insulin, goes right to the liver to be processed like alcohol. And, it can raise your triglycerides, can release the visceral fat if you eat too much of it. It could just overwhelm your liver. It really messes you up. Fructose is the worst type of sugar you can eat. But I think fructose in fruits is fine. Like, fructose in a fruit, maybe half fructose, half glucose, You definitely want to avoid high fructose corn syrup, but I would try to just accent your meals with fruit. Like you'll see in the meals I'm going to pull up towards the end that I'm always putting like a handful of berries in there. Just it makes the meal so much more enjoyable to eat. It makes it really fun. But number one, I would say, to answer your question, Lynn, I would say avocado. Number two, vegetables in every form. And even fruits like tomatoes, that's a fruit too. I mean, really good. I would just eat tons of that. And I do eat one. I don't eat it every day, but I eat a no-cal bar almost every day, which is 15, 16 grams of protein. Same to like the no-quest bar. So I get a little bit more fiber there, but I'm upwards of over 50 grams. Easy for the day. Let's see what we got here. Okay, Alexandra. Okay, this is Alexandra. I understand your point, Mike. It's not real food, but it's easier to track than macro. No, I agree, Alexandra. Actually, I think you're doing great, and I'd like that I think it's great you show up here every single week. Just as long as you're feeling good, everything's working good for you, you got good energy, you look good, you feel good. I know you're down 20 pounds. I don't want to mess you up. I think stick with it and do it. But at some point, and just think, you may want to take a diet break in the middle before you lose the next 20 pounds. But if you're doing good, stay with it. If you have any issues, you can always email me too or something. Here's Margaret. Okay, Margaret, thank you. I'm learning so much for finding. Oh, God, this is Margaret. I'm learning so much for finding. I I really appreciate it, Margaret. This is great. And I'm here, and every Sunday I go live too, which is great. Here's Chris. Mike, I just want to say thank you for helping change my life. I really appreciate it. Oh, thanks so much, Chris. I love it. And you're doing it all. You're doing it all. I'm really happy for you. You're such a success story, which is great. Here's Jeff. Jeff, how do you keep your salad ingredients from going bad? Do you go to the store very often, or do you have some tricks? Seems like I'm always in a race to eat and produce before it expires. Yeah, I'm one of these old school guys, I have to say. Maybe because of my schedule, because I own my own gym and I'm up early in the morning and I have some flexibility during the day. I don't work in an office. I personally like going to the supermarket every single day. And I have this great Italian deli right near me, and Whole Foods is like 5 minutes from my gym. So I go every single day, and my wife got me really good at this, because sometimes I bring something home and my wife looks at the expiration date and said, Mike, what are you doing? This expires tomorrow. I'm such a stickler now, because my wife will get in my case too. I look at the labels, and even when I'm picking yogurt, I eat a Greek yogurt almost every single day. 15 grams of protein, only like 120 calories, something like that. I love the Greek yogurt. Plus, I try to eat a fermented fruit every single day, in addition to like sauerkraut and pickles, things like that. And I'm always going to the back of the freezer and grabbing like an old date, so to make sure the date is really good. Yeah, Jeff, I like going to the supermarket every single day. Plus, I think it's a psychological mental thing. It's more like in Europe, like you go to Italy, you go to France, people always go into the fish store, the meat market every single day. I guess my parents did that too. My grandparents did that. I guess it's just programmed into me. My wife is like that. I do that with wine too, because I don't want to drink too much wine. Just so rarely, maybe very, very rarely, will I go to a wine store and buy more than one bottle of wine. I like buying wine one bottle at a time. I don't buy cases of wine because I don't want to that much liquor in the house, but I do, like, a couple times during the week. I'll go to the liquor store, wine store, and I say, let me get a bottle of red. And I like low alcohol red wines. I think there's a big difference, literally between lately. If I drink a bottle of wine, that's my main criteria now. I don't want it above 13% alcohol. That's the most. Because most wines are like 14 and a half. I think it's a tremendous difference. Some are 15, even more. You have a couple glasses of wine when it's 12 and a half, 13%. And I try to go with like French and Italian. Like, I like basic table wine, inexpensive, like Costerone, like Montepulciano, like things like that. Just basic low sugar type wines, relatively low in alcohol. I think it's a lot healthier and so much better. That it's amazing, those few percentage points makes the alcohol content like 15, 20% higher. It's a big difference, I think. And I only like wine one bottle at a time because I don't want a whole house full of wine. Kind of cool. Okay, so this is my favorite plan, and I know you heard me talk about this before. And you can do this either counting calories, like everything I explained, or you can do it like what Gwen said, somewhat intuitively, because I feel most people, when they only give themselves an 8-hour eating window, will be in a calorie deficit, right? At least in the beginning. So this would be a great formula, right? 16-8, you fast for 16 hours every day. You can do early or late. The research is leaning more towards early now, meaning that you pick an 8-hour eating window that's earlier in the day, say from 10 to 6, or you can do it more late, like 12 to 8. You eat 2 meals, high in protein, high in fiber, and then you throw in a protein bar, protein shake right in the middle. And then once every 4 or 5 days, maybe you don't do anything. You don't do time-restricted eating. You know, almost 3 meals a day, you up your calories. I think it's a great plan. I think you can do anything you want with this, right? You can be in a calorie deficit. You can be in maintenance calories. You can muscle up and build muscle and be in a positive energy balance. I just love it. I love it. Retire 219. Let's see. Mike, do you think spin classes are beneficial for fat loss? Sure. No, I think they're great. I mean, the only thing that concerns me about spin classes, and I've talked about this in the past. I talk about this a lot. I don't think people like what I say about it, but there's no doubt, and the research is pretty conclusive, that too much high-intensity exercise leads to, damages your heart, leads to AFib, irregular heart rate. Like I talked about, athletes had this in the past, like Mark Spitz, the Olympic gold medalist who's like my age, probably older than me. He's got AFib, like irregular heart rate from doing all that heart training. Larry Bird, Billie Jean King, so many athletes. Mark Sesson, who wrote all those books, like the Primal Blueprint and all those books. He was like a world-class athlete, like marathon, I think mid-distance. Was he a half marathon? I'm not sure what he was, but long endurance running. When you do decades of that high-intensity exercise, it really can damage your heart. So when it comes to a spinning class, I would say, I do think that high-intensity training is good, but not much of it. Small amounts of it. Like, for example, if you're doing a spinning class that's like, I don't know, an hour and 15 minutes long, or even 45 minutes, I wouldn't want you to do more than 5 or 6 of those high-intensity intervals for like 30, 60 seconds. That's it. Like really hard for 30, 60 seconds, maybe easy for 90 seconds, maybe 5 or 6 of them takes 15 minutes. My issue with these spinning classes is that they brutalize you. You know how many clients I've had say to me that, they're in a spinning class? And first of all, spinning class became popular. It was the guy from Schwinn. I forget the guy, the cyclist. When I started working in like the bigger gyms, and this is maybe the mid 80s, that's when spinning started. I remember we put a spinning room in our gym. Do you know how many people would literally pass out on the spinning bike? I mean, like keel right over, and then we wouldn't let them come back to the gym. They get so annoyed at us because they got caught. They overdid it. And they had to get. Then we'd have to make them submit doctor approval. I not to make fun of other gyms and change, but there's something, and you may have heard of Orange Theory. There's an Orange Theory that's maybe a quarter mile from my gym. And I think they do really well. Like they're busy all the time whenever I go by. I've had clients that used to go to Orange Theory come to me now and whatever. So I had this one older couple, husband and wife, used to come to me. This is maybe 6-7 months ago, and they used to be members at Orange Theory, and the guy says to me, Mike, I stopped going to Orange Theory. He said, you know why? He said, every time I took a class, every time, the ambulance would show up. And he said, with most of the men, they would just keel over. I wouldn't say every time. So really, every time? So no, not every time. I'm exaggerating a little bit. But regularly, the ambulance would show up because they brutalize you in Orange. They want you to be at 85% of your max heart rate. I mean, I like spinning as long as it's done reasonably. I mean, like if you have the Peloton, I just don't kill yourself. I mean, knowing that no matter what the instructor's saying, don't do more than 5, 6, 7 high-intensity intervals for more than 30 to 60 seconds per class. The key, 80% of your exercise should be moderate. We're going to talk about this on the next coming slide. 80% of your exercise should be moderate. 20% could be high intensity. The harder the workout is, the shorter it should be. No question about it. And I'm not saying I overtrained 20 years of my life. My 20s and my 30s, I worked out 2 hours a day in the gym. That's why I'm so banged up. I got so many different issues, like orthopedic type things, from just overdoing it in the gym, for sure. Okay, Chris. And the other thing I would say with Type in 219 is, another thing just to keep in mind is too, I really wouldn't look at exercise as burning calories, even though you are, meaning that I would control your weight like 90% with diet. And yes, cardio does help, no question about it, and having more muscle mass does help. But I would look at exercise as creating the response, meaning that you do your HIIT training, they increase your VO2 max, you do your like easy or walking or your moderate aerobics to build an aerobic base for mental health, right? You do your resistance training to maintain and put on muscle mass, you do your mobility movement for mobility to lubricate your joints. But I wouldn't look at exercise as the main way of burning body fat. You got to just keep calories in line, right? I mean, like that saying, you can't out exercise a bad diet. I totally agree with that, right? You get your abs in the kitchen, not in the gym. Those are corny sayings, but I totally agree with them. Okay, let's talk about Chris. Hey, Chris, I found some great wine from an online store called Dry Farms. That's great. I was going to mention that. Great wine at Lone Sugar. I'm dying to do that. It's funny because I never even got the air fryer, which you recommended. So I'm going to do that, and I wanted to try Dry Farms. I don't think it's that inexpensive, though, right? I think the average bottle is like in the mid-20s. I have this rule. I try not to spend over $20 on a bottle of wine. I buy those, like I'm saying, those inexpensive French and Italian table wines. Sometimes they're like $13.99, $14.99, like that. I think that's a little bit more expensive, but I've heard great things. I've heard the founder of that, is on a lot of podcasts. He's an interesting guy. He's into all this stuff. He's into intermittent fasting, time-restricted eating. He's into those cold plunging. He's a very interesting guy, and his whole concept is healthy wine consumption. Like, he's into those low alcohol ones. I think some of his go down to like 9.5% even. He's got some like high-profile people. A lot of actors and people like that follow him as well too. Oh, thanks for the super chat, Alexandra. That's great. Really nice of you. So $5 for Alexandra. Thanks, Mike. I will try the 3 meals a day this week. Oh, so nice of you. Thanks. I appreciate it. That's great. Let's see. Okay, retired 219. I had AFib. Oh, you did. Oh, sorry about that. I had AFib several years ago that required surgery. So you had what they do. I think I'm assuming. I know you know. I think what they do is that they burn a little part of the heart and it gets rid of that irregular like heartbeat. So I'm glad. I'm assuming everything went great for you. I will stop spinning and continue to walk for Fowlers. Yes, I would. I mean, I don't want to turn you off. You do want to do something to increase your VO2 max, no question about it. And the VO2 max stands for your maximal oxygen consumption. And even walking increases your VO2 max. But if you want to really get it at your genetic, like the highest you can genetically get it, all it takes is, I still would maybe just do like 30-second intervals, maybe do 4 or 5 of them once or twice a week. So even if you're walking, I don't know if you want to just go into like a little bit of either you hustle up a hill and you get to like 85% of your max heart rate, or if you go into a little bit of a run or I don't know if you want to sprint. I mean, I'm not into sprinting outside myself, but if you can use any type of aerobic equipment where you can just get your heart rate up there pretty high, like spike at 85, 90%, but only 30 seconds, recover for 90 seconds, do it 4 or 5 times once or twice a week, it'll do wonders for your VO2 max. And you're also going to increase your VO2 max doing resistance training as well too. But sorry about that, but I'm glad the operation worked for you. I've had a number of clients over the years get that operation. And it's great. Okay, so let's go over, and this is what I mean by like a be active. It depends how far you want to take it. Like if you know me, I still work out probably too much and all that stuff. But I'm a little addicted to it. But I really have switched over the years to more of a moderate approach to exercise. Like I'm into long, easy. Like I say, I walk every day, twice a day. I'm gonna walk today for 2 hours. I won't do any resistance training today. But I do a lot of bodybuilding-ish type stuff too. High rep, like, metabolic stress type training, which I do love. But I would recommend everyone, this would be, to me, would be like almost the bare minimum for anyone to do for a healthy, active lifestyle. And like I said, if you know me, I love that living a lifestyle in tune with your circadian rhythm. So I love first thing in the morning, you drink a big glass of water. We're talking about the hydration, maybe squeeze a little lemon in it. If you want a cup of coffee, fine. Go outside, walk 30 minutes outside. Let the sunlight hit your body, hit your eyes, hit your retina. It's going to set your circadian rhythm, get everything churning, going, which is great. So I recommend everyone walk for at least 30 minutes, if not once or twice a day minimum. If you can go more, if you can go 60, go 60. I'm around 45. I try to walk 90 minutes every single day, minimum, besides my normal resistance training workout that I do in the middle of the day, which is like an hour and 15 minutes. It's life-changing. I don't think there's anything you can do better for your mental health than to walk for 30 minutes twice a day. And I was going to do a video on, I just read this study, like a meta-analysis comparing easy exercise like walking compared to taking like antidepressant medication. It seemed to work 1.5 times better. It's incredible. Like you hear people say things like a hook in a video, or someone will say is, if there was a medication that you can take that could reverse and do all these amazing things, and they think, you know what it is? It's exercise. It really is. And it doesn't have to be hard exercise. Most of your exercise should be easy. Like we're like, hunter-gatherers type stuff. We're like nomads. We're meant to just walk everywhere. That's why I always say, like, I recently went to Italy. I'm going to Italy again, actually. We're going to a wedding in Italy in about 6 weeks. I can't wait. And my daughter's going. I wish my son can come. I'm not sure if he can come. And when you go to Italy, the life expectancy is greater in Italy, right? People live not crazy long, about 18 months longer compared to people in the U.S. But so many people smoke, right? Nothing worth it you can do than smoking. I don't think they eat good food, more Mediterranean type food, but they're eating desserts and they're munching, but they walk everywhere and they have good social lives and they're happy. And walking I think is nothing better you can do, even without the resistance training. Like, truthfully, if someone comes to me and say, Mike, would you rather me come to your gym for an hour twice a week and we do like a good hard workout with resistance training and everything, or would you rather someone walk 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at night, every single day, 7 days a week? Hands down, I would say walk twice a day. Don't come to my gym. There's no comparison. You got to be active. You got to move around. You got to walk every day. You get outside, get the sunlight. It's so important. So I would say for me, that would be the bare minimum. You got to walk 30 minutes once or twice a day, for sure. Let me see what Jeff's got. Then we'll talk about the resistance training. Jeff, this is Jeff. I've been trying early time restricted eating on my tennis days and just having the amino acid powder in water after tennis at night. I'm not losing weight, but I think I retain too much water. Maybe, I don't know, Jeff. Retaining water, I mean, if you're eating the carbs, you're maybe retaining water. So what do you mean? You've been trying to early time? I know, I think you've had some success, and then sometimes you've asked questions like this before. I would say, Jeff, unfortunately, I would start tracking for a few weeks, couple weeks. Track everything and just see where you're at. Track your calories, your protein, your fat, your carbs. Track it all. Use MyFitnessPal. I know it's annoying. I love what you're doing. It sounds like every time you leave, it sounds like you're doing great all the time. But if you feel like you're not losing weight, calories are probably sneaking in somewhere, somehow. They probably are. So it's hard to say, but I would do that. I would track. Use MyFitnessPal. It's free. Track everything for 2 weeks. Try to figure out what your maintenance calories are, what a nice deficit is for you to be. And like I said, you don't have to do it every day. If you're doing the time restricted eating on tennis days, those are probably your low calorie days with the tennis. You could get an inflammatory response a little bit, from playing tennis. Sometimes, you create a response and it creates inflammation within the body, and maybe you're holding a little water from that. Possibly, you almost get like swole, from playing like a hard game of tennis, maybe. But you should be gone in a day or two, that weight. Hard to say, but I would track everything, Jeff. And you may not want to do it, but do it. Do it for 2 weeks and see where you're at. Okay, so then I would say when it comes to resistance training, let's say you're walking 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at night, or 30 minutes just twice a day. Maybe you go out to lunch, you walk, eat your lunch, come back 15 minutes each way, whatever. You should do some type of resistance training. And if you don't want to join a gym and you want to do the minimalist thing, I would just do my 3 favorite things. I would either do some bodyweight squats or lunges, right? If you're stronger, you want to hold some dumbbells, great. do a couple of sets, 20 reps, couple of sets of push-ups. I got videos on the YouTube channel on how to do all these things. If you can't do a push-up off the floor, you can do it off a countertop. 2 sets, work up to 20 push-ups twice. There's even a great study that talks about how push-ups are a better indicator of cardiovascular disease than taking a stress test or whatever. They say if you can do like 20 or more push-ups, your chances of getting a heart attack are dramatically reduced. There was a study on firemen. That's the study I'm talking about. I did a whole video on it. And then planks. I like front planks, the rolling planks, core strength. Really, really basic. You can take it a little bit further. Like I love those bands, those resistance bands. Those Spree, S-P-R-I, with a high and low anchor. You can do anything with those things. You can push, you can pull, you can curl, you can press. I mean that's all you really need. But if I would do like a minimalist gym at home, I would get a bench. I love those Bowflex twistable dumbbells and those Spree bands. You can literally spend a couple $100, maybe a little more, maybe $300. You got everything. And if there's one piece of aerobic equipment in the house, I would say a treadmill. I just bought a treadmill, Sole, S-O-L-E. I was shocked how good this treadmill is. It's not cheap, but it's not expensive. I mean, I've spent $5,000 on a treadmill in my gyms over the years for these high-end treadmills. And I bought this one for about $1,200. It's not as good, but it's close. It's more than good enough at home. 3 horsepower engine. It's how you tell if a treadmill is good or not is that you want a treadmill with weight. You want it to be 250, 300 pounds. If you look at these less expensive treadmills, you see like 180 pounds. They rock, they move, they twist, they bend. That's one of the biggest indicator of a good treadmill, I think, is the weight of it. And I think they give you like a lifetime warranty, 5 years on different parts. I think it's a great treadmill for the money. So if you're gonna invest in just one piece of aerobic equipment, I would say treadmill. You can do intervals with an incline. You want a treadmill that goes to at least 12% on an incline. Flat bench. I love those twistable dumbbells, those Bowflex dumbbells. There's other brands now where you can pick the weight and then some bands. You can do everything. That's all you need. And you do 15 minutes 3 times a week, even twice a week. You'll be in the top 90 percentile of the country. You can't go wrong. Okay, retire 219. As a retiree, my concern is working out too much. That's great. You're like me. I would like to retire now. It's funny. I want to still make these videos, but I like to get out of the gym business and all that, and just be like a full-time content creator, talk about this stuff and make a living from it. But I hear you. I mean, I love working out too. I definitely hear you. But you just keep in mind you can reach your point of diminishing return. So what I would do retire 219 is take long walks. Really get into doing that. I mean, you can walk 45 minutes twice a day like me. Enjoy the outdoors. Then do your resistance training, a little bit of that. But I mean, get into long easy. You can start biking now. I don't know if you're into biking or rollerblading or things like that. All great fun stuff. Be outside, enjoy the weather, all that. That's great. All right, so good. So let's go over some meal ideas. I don't know if people are still here who want to get some examples. Let's see. Let me start off with some smaller meals, and then I'll go into some bigger ones. I even had some sushi a couple of times this week. Well, let's go from the bottom up. I think you guys may have seen this before. This is just one of my classic meals that I eat like this all the time. In my opinion, this is like a high protein, high fiber, relatively low calorie type meal. Sometimes the calories may seem lower than they are because I also have some extra virgin olive oil. Like every tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil is about 130, 140 calories. And then I always put balsamic vinegar on these salads because the high in acidic acid, which helps control blood sugar post-meal. So it's kind of like apple cider vinegar. So I have a big bed of arugula salad. Just like I was talking about with Chris, I eat arugula almost every single day, 100 grams of arugula, which has about 400 milligrams of nitrates. So this is really going to increase my nitric oxide eating this 100 grams of arugula. Plus, I love that bitter taste. If you don't like arugula, you can do spinach. Just any leafy green is great. It's almost like a free food. You're getting fiber, you're getting some good stuff in it. Let's see what Lynn's got to say. Please add some pescatarian ideas and your suggestions. We'll do. Well, this is actually a pescatarian right here, Lynn. But most of the stuff is pescatarian. And then, so now this is salmon. I got a lot of salmon here, at least 10 ounces. Some upwards of 60 grams of protein here, right? And I think this is flavor. I make it like this all the time. I don't think I made this on top of the stove, but I've been doing a couple of cooking videos, guys, too, and gals. I don't know if you've seen them. I know Chris has seen some of them, where I actually show you how I'm cooking them. Sometimes I make salmon on top of the stove. I generally do that for lunch. If I make salmon in the evening, we bake it. And I like Cajun. I like curry spices. I like turmeric. I think it's good for inflammation within the body. Plus, I love the taste of it. So I think this was baked though from the night before. So this is about 60 grams, 10 ounces of baked curry salmon, avocado. So I got my potassium there, my 17 grams of potassium there, plus a couple of grams from the arugula, a handful of blueberries for some antioxidants and a little bit more fiber. Probably a tablespoon of EVOO and balsamic vinegar. This is just a perfect meal. I mean, maybe even had like a row of like dark chocolate at the end of this. So I'll talk about that. I showed the dark chocolate in I think one of the other slides. I like the dark chocolate too. I go 85% or higher because it's high in magnesium, plus a decent amount of fiber too in dark chocolate. Even Alexandria too. A little bit of dark chocolate would be good for you too. Even Lynn, to get the fiber in there too. Let's go with another one. Here's another salmon one, I think. Yeah, this is an example of what I mean by the dark chocolate. See, Lynn, this is right up your alley too, Lynn, as well. This actually, I think I made a video of me actually making this meal. And this is a combination. This is a real pescatarian meal. So first I had, same thing. Because these plates are tremendous, these Italian plates. So it's really hard to say. But I think 10 ounces of salmon right there. And, so I'm getting almost 60 grams there. Maybe a little bit less. I wanted even a little bit more protein. So these are the shrimp I made the night before. I buy this all the time. I buy those Gulf from Florida, those Gulf shrimp. And I just sauteed them with like extra virgin olive oil and curry spices too. So that was in the same line, curry right there. 60, 70 grams of protein right there. It's a tremendous plate. Then I took a handful of grapes and raspberries. Once again, I want that potassium and I want the fiber. Cut up an avocado. And then this is the celery juice I'm talking about. 35 calories. The Evolutions brand, like 1,100, like 1,000 milligrams of potassium. Between the avocado, the salmon, and I probably get 2,500 milligrams of potassium in the meal right there. Great electrolytes. And then, truthfully, this is what I had at this particular day. I'm not crazy about the Lynn's brand of dark chocolate, but it must have been on sale because I'm always price conscious in whatever I get. So but I love 85% dark chocolate. And interesting, when you're picking dark chocolate, this is a key thing. See, Lynn's makes 100% or 90%, but they alkaline it. Okay. Whenever you're looking at dark chocolate, if it ever says with Dutch processing or with alkalized, meaning that they strip all the good stuff out of it, the vitamin, all the healthy things, that's the dark chocolate you don't want. So just look at that on the ingredients. Make sure it doesn't say Dutch processing or things like that. And this is a perfect meal for me too. Relatively low in calories. It upped the calories a little bit because of the dark chocolate, but just think I didn't use the EVOO on the arugula salad, so I saved some calories there. Only 35 calories with the celery juice. This is like a perfect meal and really enjoyable, and I love having it. It's great. Let's try another one. I think Lynn's got a question here too. Let's see. Hey, I don't know what is really. Oh, there you go. Okay. This is Lynn. Okay, I'll eat organic black and green. Yeah, I like that one too. I buy that one all the time. That's a better tasting one to me. So yummy. Yeah, I love it. That's the one with that dark black, like brown label on it. I love that one too. That's more expensive. Like that Lynn's, I think sometimes you get it on sale. I must have really been on sale. You get them for like $2 a bar. Those are like $3.99 most of the time. They're very rarely on sale near me. Sometimes Whole Foods puts them on sale. The black and green, but I love that one too. I think that's probably my favorite actually. Probably my favorite. There's other called, I forget. There's another brand I really like too. I'm not sure if I have it here. So, people are always asking me for like lower calorie type meals, and I also want to show people. I don't want to say that I'm always super perfect. I have some bacon here too. I love bacon. I actually had some bacon a couple days ago as well. So this is a little bit of bacon. I like the Boar's Head bacon brand. I think it's a high quality bacon, not crazy high in sodium. I think 2 strips is 190 milligrams of sodium. Sometimes you look at 2 strips, it says 500. I don't like that high salty bacon. And I even I may overcook it a little bit, and it's not good to overcook your meats though when it comes to cancer, things like that. But I'd love a little crispy bacon. Then I got 2 pasture raised eggs, higher in the omega-3s. Once again, my avocado. Then I have a little bit of a tomato and onion salad. My rule is too, I try to go with different colors, different vitamins, different minerals, different nutrients. I think this is a great low calorie, really tasty meal. Oh, you get them in Amazon. Oh, that's just, I never ordered them on Amazon. That's pretty good. I should try that. That's great. I bet they're pretty fairly priced there. That sounds pretty good. Okay, let's give you another more. I have a few different meals today. See, I think there's another small one with smoked. Yeah, I love this too. I love this meal too. And I see. I also want you to notice I'm always prioritizing protein. Like whenever I structure a meal, I always think protein first. So this meal, even though it's a relatively small meal, and I show more lunches just because I feel like I can never eat a meal without me filming a video. It's like, it's like a little stressful sometimes. And for dinner, it's already dark and it's harder for me to film and take the pictures in my eating. Plus my wife, we want to eat together, but I may start doing some more examples of dinners, but this is another typical lunch. Like there's other stuff. There's certain things I always keep in my house, and obviously I always keep eggs, I always keep avocados, and I always keep some type of meat like this. Like this is smoked salmon, which I love. There must be 4 or 5 ounces of smoked salmon there. It's really expensive, as you know, smoked salmon. So that's probably why I didn't go with like 8 ounces of smoked salmon. I have a little bit of cured meat. That's pretty lean, like a prosciutto type of meat that I got from the Italian deli near me. So this is a great meal. I must think I maybe 50 grams of protein there. Then it looks like only half an avocado to me. I just threw an egg in there to give a little bit more protein and some raspberries. Knowing me though, me personally, this is an example of a small meal. I probably had a little bit more than this. I probably had a Greek yogurt for dessert, another 15 grams of protein and something like that, because it's a relatively small meal. But this is what I'm talking about, the style of eating. Prioritize protein, fiber. Whatever you eat. That's not a pescatarian. Yeah, this is another good one for you, Lynn. And I've talked about this before too. I have 2 examples of this. This is a little bit low on the protein side for me. So I'm sure after this meal, I probably had a Greek yogurt, 15 grams of protein. But I talked about this in the past. Whenever I have sushi, and I love sushi, it's a little carb heavy for me. So what I do is I buy it the day before and I refrigerate it. It's a little debatable, but I really believe in it. And I've even watched some from people who wear those 24-hour glucose monitors who measure their blood sugar like they eat a meal. I love watching those videos. They eat a meal, and then they show like an hour after the meal, 2 hours after the meal, 3 hours after the meal, how much of a spike in blood sugar they got. And I've seen someone do this where they take white rice, and they refrigerate it overnight, and then they eat the white rice, and an hour later they look at their blood sugar response compared to when they eat white rice that wasn't refrigerated. See, when you refrigerate white rice, it becomes a resistant starch, resistant to digestion, so you get much less of a blood sugar spike. It's almost like you're getting like free calories too. And it worked out when they were doing the blood glucose monitor. When they refrigerated the rice overnight, they had a much lower glucose monitor. So glucose response, like blood sugar response. So I love eating sushi, so I'll do that though. Like I'll buy the day before, I'll refrigerate it, and then I'll take it out, I'll eat it cold, and I love it. And it's just a typical like salmon avocado. But once again, you can see I want to increase the fiber. So I ate another half avocado. And I love blueberries and avocado. I threw some blueberries in. But I also do it this way too, because sometimes if I want more protein when I'm eating sushi, I'll do this. Like this is probably leftover, and this is a great pescatarian meal in for us. So I have my normal avocado and sushi roll and salmon roll here, refrigerated overnight so it's a resistant starch. Then I wanted a nice 4-ounce piece of salmon just to give myself another 25 grams of protein. I always have some type of blueberries to make it really fun. So that's really, I think it's a great way to do the sushi. If you go into a fancy sushi place, obviously you can't. But I'm buying this in my local Italian deli. They got a sushi guy there every single day. So I just buy it the day before. Super fresh. I absolutely love it. I love it. Here's another example of a meal. I make chicken thighs a lot. I like chicken thighs. I buy those Bell & Evan chicken thighs. These are 4 chicken thighs. I must get 60, 70 grams of protein here. Just a couple big slices of avocado. This time I went with strawberries. Are starting to come in, which is nice. I love strawberries and blueberries. This is just a great meal. If you notice, what you're not seeing in my meals is you're not really seeing empty calories. Like, you're not seeing like the breads and the pastas and the rices. I mean, obviously the sushi resistant starch like we just talked about, but people are always asking me, Mike, but the interesting thing is that I get a lot of comments on these meals saying, Mike, what do you eat, 0 carb? Because people look at these meals and say there's no carbs. Meanwhile, half the meal is carbs because fruits and vegetables are carbs. They just don't see any pasta. They don't see any bread. They don't see, grains. They're not seeing grains, but these are the high fiber, low sugar, healthy fiber, high fiber carbs that you want to eat. This is how you get your carbs to 30, 40, 50 grams a day without overdoing with calories. And I even say baked potatoes I do have, and sweet potatoes. I think those are high fiber, pretty good carbs too. I know they're a little starchy. And even white potatoes, you can do the same thing. You can bake a potato, refrigerate it overnight, it becomes a resistant starch, just like the white rice. So it's a better way to eat. Like say you want to make a cold potato salad with extra virgin olive oil, it's a great way to do it. Oh, that's so great. Sushi, refrigerate overnight. Yeah, try it, Lynn. You'll love it. I mean, I don't mind it cold. Some people, it's a little debatable too. I've heard mixed things where they were eating it cold. Like some people say, no, you can let it settle to room temperature, and it's still okay. You just can't heat it up. Like you can't like take a white potato, refrigerate it overnight, and then bake it again. You know, you can let it like cool off, and that's not the right word, cool off. You can slightly warm up. They say maybe at 250 in the oven for a little bit, just to let it not be cold. But you don't want to like recook it, because then you go mess it up again. You know. Is quinoa good carb? I think quinoa's okay. It's a high protein. It's funny. Quinoa's kind of like a leafy. It really is. It's interesting because when you look it up, it says it's in the spinach family, which is a little confusing to me, but that's what they say. I think it's pretty good. I think it's okay. I'm not sure if you refrigerate it, if it becomes a resistant starch. I never thought of that. But I know that for vegetarians and vegans, I think it's important. It's a good source of protein, quinoa. I wouldn't go crazy with it. I'd have to look at the exact numbers. It's not something that I eat on a regular basis. So off the top of my head, I'd have to put it into MyFitnessPal and look at how many grams of protein you're getting for how many grams of carbohydrates and how much fiber. I'd want to look at the whole thing. But quickly, I would say I think it's okay. I think I just got one more. I have one more here. Oh, that was Lynn's question. I showed them all. Maybe I showed you all the food. All right, guys. I think that's about it. Let's see. Oh, here's Gwen. Gwen, I love sushi, but I don't know it was Italian. That's really funny. I know. Since I keep on talking about places. I love these guys at this Italian deli. It's called the Chicos. It's like these brothers. I have to say, it's the only downside is that it's expensive, but this, you know how you can tell a place where every single worker is just like nice, you know what I mean? It's one of those places like the people in the produce are nice, the fish guy is so nice, the sushi guys who's making the sushi, they're like the two guys that are always there, they're really nice. I know they must be a great company to work for because everyone's so nice. So they just have like a sushi section in this Italian deli, and it's not a small deli. It's almost like a supermarket. But you don't buy, like, you wouldn't buy like paper towels there. You wouldn't buy toothpaste or mouthwash. You know what I mean? It's really just food. Great produce section, and you know that rule, which I'd love to, is I get my sardines there. They're fairly priced there too. You know the rule, like where all the good food is in the supermarkets is in the perimeter, right? All the way to the right, generally your produce. All the way to the left is generally your meats and your fish and your chicken and then in the back is your eggs and your yogurt. You know, that's where you want to be in a supermarket. You just want to walk around the outside and make a circle, and you want to stay out of the center, you know, with all the cookies and cakes and the chips and stuff like that, you know. Oh, you love the Chicos. Great. Oh, good. So I didn't realize, Lynn, you must be relatively close by. That's great. So you know the Chicos. Yeah, I love the Chicos too. It's interesting. I heard there's a story about them that like some of the brothers have split up. And like if you go to some of the Chicos, it looks a little different. I think they're both good, but the one I go to is maybe you're near me. I'm in Mount Kisco, so I go to the one in Millwood, and I go to the one in Armonk. Those are the two ones I really like. They're great. I love them both. It's good. All right, guys. So any more questions before I go? I'm getting ready to take my walk. I think it's a cloudy day in New York today, but it kind of warm. I mean what I forget what day it was yesterday. Last week, was it Friday? Like 92 degrees and sunny. I walked with a sleeveless shirt on Friday. I couldn't believe it. So Lynn, I live in the same area, the Chicos, Mount Kisco Seafood. Yeah, no, I love it. I'm there every day, Lynn. That's great. I'll look for you. Maybe I'll run into you there. That's great. All right, guys. Any questions before I go? I want to give you a minute because there's always like a delay sometimes. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this. And also let me know if since we're getting a decent amount of new people, I don't want to be repetitive every single week. So always give me your ideas. I mean, I'll try to make. I was gonna do one on sleep, on how to. I think sleep is like so important. But I was away yesterday, like I said, watching my son do his track meet. But I think next weekend, I don't think I have anything going on. The following weekend, I think I'm going back to another meet. So maybe I'll do something different, like completely different. I was thinking about doing one on how to improve sleep. Let me know if that's of any interest. If not, we'll stick with the sauna benefits. Actually, I did a video. Check out the video we tied to 2019. Put up sauna, Michael. I did a whole video on sauna. So I actually got a decent amount of views. And one of the big benefits is it's almost like doing, like you're saying, it's almost like doing aerobics because it elevates your heart rate. So it's almost like getting an aerobic workout, being in the sauna. But I like that. I can do a whole live stream of that too. I did some videos on cold plunging. I think there's definitely benefits to that. I personally have Raynaud's disease though. So I did a video on why I stopped doing like the cold showers, and even though I did like them, because I mean my hands went completely white. I'll even show you some pictures. I could do one on that too. Oh, so that's a good thought. Sauna is a cold plunging. It's really popular now. I know people are really into it. Everyone's putting. One of my clients is putting in a cold plunge in his house. We were talking about it, which is kind of cool. All right. Well, I'm gonna go. Hope everyone's having a great week. Weekend. I really appreciate you showing up. And I'll see everyone next weekend. Thanks again. Take care. And Alexandra, thanks for the excuse me. Thanks for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Take care, everyone.